GM. Is this Velo? That's not Velo that does the data, is it? I was wondering, is it this Velo? Same one as this? No. I don't think they have a token yet. Velo.org. Seems like a scam. It won't load. Fuck them. So, not talking about Velo. I'm talking about DWF Labs. So what I'm going to do on Trade of the Day today is check in on our favorite market manipulators, DWF, and see do they have any coins showing nice accumulation patterns. So what I'm going to do is, I talked about this with one of my captains, and we noticed a few weeks back that the Bitcoin correlation, 30-day correlation, was weakest. You want to go by the weakest, not the strongest. It was weakest across a bunch of DWF coins. So they were totally decorrelated from Bitcoin, which is quite interesting. It means they might move in their own fashion, right? If they have a low correlation to Bitcoin now, it's likely to stay that way. Because if Bitcoin's pumping, it means they're probably not pumping, hence the correlation being low. Therefore, when Bitcoin's done pumping, they're going to get ready to run themselves. This is very common. The shittiest of shit coins will go nowhere when Bitcoin's pumping, and then altcoins, the mid caps and large caps will pump, and then the shit will pump. The reason the shit pumps last is because of its lower correlation to Bitcoin, right? Generally, it's a market maker thing. So, let me see. Just looking over these in general. Live Peers one. I think Multi is one as well. Toncoin. That's DWF. They're involved. Storage, I think. Teller, yeah. Teller. Yeah. YGG. So yeah, still a similar setup. But here we have, right? So this isn't exhaustive list of all their projects, but these are some of the most recent. Right? So recently they invested in Theta and Flocky. I find it very interesting that they invested in Flocky, because I think they know what's happening. Obviously, this was back on the 5th of December, right? So quite recent. Dogcoin mania. The dogs are coming. And so there's probably plans for Flocky to have new exchange listings, perpetuals maybe coming, or whatever. And so I want to go and look at just the 50 EMA. Sorry, where's my main? Yeah, I'll look here. So here's Flocky. I'll look at the bands. 50, 100, and 200. So it's already moved off the lows. Holding the daily trend for now. Rejected that first pump. But if I saw signs of it showing a little bit of support on the 4 hour, it'd be interesting. But nothing right away, nothing that really grabs me there with Flocky, other than the fact that it looks a little bit like Pepe. Here we go. Right, Pepe is stronger, but it had that same breakout or consolidation, diagonal breakout, and then holding above. So Theta was another one that they invested in recently. This is a bit nicer. So this is doing one of those grinds up that has not overextended yet, right? It's breaking some of the downtrend of the bear market, however you want to draw it. It's breaking all of those downtrend lines. It's rising up. Weekly has turned green. We're above the 50-week EMA, holding above it. Back to the daily. 50 is above 100, which is now above 200. We finally had that crossover. So first time in many, many months, years, literally, probably 2 years since Theta had that, where the 50 was above the 100, above the 200. So that hasn't happened. So since 2021, we've not seen strong trending conditions for Theta. So as we go over here, we have the 50, above the 100, above the 200. We have a support resistance flip here. So it actually looks quite good from that perspective currently. It did just sweep those highs, grab that liquidity and drop off. So it took liquidity above. You look at it to come back to wherever support was. So the strongest support would be down here in the bands. But interim support could be found at this level. And it had a nice deep sweep out there. So I think, honestly, for something like Theta, you often see with strong trends that they do not come back to the 50. Right? Because the bands are just crossing now. They've just crossed for the first time. It's in a solid, steady uptrend without having had it's not had any blow-off move yet. DWF are involved, so I'm sure there's going to be a blow-off move. Theta is related to gaming and DPIN. A couple of hot potential narratives. There's a liquidity level. August 2022 highs. So this one seems pretty decent. Now you'd want to go then and dive into some of the numbers. Theta. There you go. OI has dropped off. Funding rate. Funding's cooled off nicely. So that flush has done its job. Take a look here. Why does it not let me change time frame? 4 hours. As you can see, a typical pump accumulation pattern. Pumped it up, all the way up. Now we're setting a new base. So OI is steadily rising again. So there's accumulation going on. It's dropped off a little bit here. I'd expect it to go flat for a little bit. I would wait for it to reclaim the 50s on the 4 hour. I'll go back onto the TradingView chart and look at that in a moment. But yeah, I think this is probably gearing up for another big move. Big long liquidations, right? So anyone who was chasing into that move got wrecked there. That's good to see. Funding rate reset, cooled right off, back to sustainable levels, right? Like it's had for most of its move up. And so yeah, I think that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. 4 hour. So your 50 is above your 100, which is above your 200. That's exactly what you want to see. You want to see a dip into them, which we've seen. But you want to make sure you're above them all with them all inflecting upwards. So right now, if this chops around like this, you're going to have the bands starting to cross over each other, which is not good. You want to get them as early in the 4-hour trend as possible. And so maybe it needs to cool off a bit and then start to build another 4-hour trend before a big breakout. We'll see. I think from here on the lower time frames, if it flips back up here and gets above that 50, I think I would have a go at that breakout. Otherwise, it might need a little bit longer to reaccumulate. Timing wise, this might not pump, right? So it might hold off. It's probably waiting for some general narrative for whatever area of the market it is to be hot. Theta fits into a couple of categories, right? Like I said, it's deep in and deep in, NFT, SocialFi. Theta is for streaming. Hybrid cloud computing platform powered by Theta Edge network. Yeah. Theta is an interesting project. I remember Theta had, they've got the co-founder of Twitch as an advisor. I remember Theta having some connections to Twitch and something else in the last run. But they're big at targeting gamers, right? Investors. Sony. Yeah. It's an interesting one to keep an eye on for a pump. What's the market cap now? 1 billion. Yeah. It's highly ranked, but it's fully vested, right? So every single Theta token has been vested. That's bullish. There's literally no more tokens to be dumped on. Right, it reached a peak of 12-15 billion last cycle. You know, Theta's interesting. Now, with DWF's investment, maybe they don't have a market making deal along with it. I'm not sure. Not sure who's the market maker for it. But it's definitely one to keep an eye on. It's just broken out of its bear market downtrend. And has, plenty of room above it. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on any of the other DWF projects. You can see some of them here. C98, CFX. They're two that I know pump hard. CFX. Conflux. Yeah, so you look at Conflux now. Is it starting to build a little? Are we starting to look for that? How's the 4-hour look? 4-hour looks fine, but dropping right the way back. I'd like to see some of these ones that are a bit smoother in their earlier stage. You have it like this. Yeah, if it's doing what it did back in February, you want to wait for it to get back above all the bands, right? Maybe you could see it go from there. Any of these, including Theta, by the way, I don't have deep conviction on Theta. Theta can 10x, 20x. This is the thing. It's a 1 billion market cap fully diluted. That's definitely something interesting to look for, because there's no more tokens to be inflated and dumped on you. So then your bet is, are other big investors buying this at the market, liquid, to run it up? But then you have the other side, where low liquidity coins can pump harder because there is less supply. If you've got a manipulator who wants to pump it, and the tokens are locked, they can pump it, and then whenever the investors' tokens come unlocked, they cash out. So there's no one way that's better or worse. But I think a trend this cycle, which it already is this liquid venture, which is crypto funds investing in things that have token supply, that are liquid. So they're not going to invest into projects that have massive numbers of tokens left to unlock, right? Typically. But at some point, I mean, if we even just get a repeat of last cycle, you're going to see stuff like Theta 10x easily. Quite easily, right? Because it's got the big brands, the big backers, it's already fully diluted, and for it to go 10x is not that difficult. So you have to just, if you're going to actually invest and hold, this is like with AKT. I think AKT, I mean, it's already, I bought it at 55 cents. It's already almost at $2. So will it do a 10x from my entry to the top? Almost certainly. But given that most stuff will do that if you have a half decent entry, your focus needs to be much more on actually researching the project and getting conviction in it. It has to be something that you will keep holding. So I wouldn't have conviction in Theta because I haven't done any deep research on it. And so it's easy when I mention coins, or you get people mention coins, you talk about coins, at some point almost everything will go up by quite a lot. Because we're in a fucking hyperinflationary asset bubble with central banks printing money all over the world, and people are just desperate to put their money somewhere, but they don't even know yet that it's crypto, because most people are still coping, thinking crypto's dead, but it's not. It's well and truly alive, and we're early. So if you're looking for coins, don't look at stuff like any random ticker I mention and think that it means anything. I look at most of these just as can they pump, because you can't hold everything, right? C98. Now there's what we like to see. There is what we like to see. So, one of the DWF favorites is just doing an absolutely beautiful little Livermore. And let me check some of the data. It's reclaiming the 1 hour 50s here. Big flush out of leverage yesterday. Let's go to the 4 hour. Fucking piece of shit. Coinalize is such a good website and such a bad website at the same time. Very interesting here. And so you look at this little bottoming range that it was in as well, right? Broke out from there. Perfect SR flip. Resistance. Rejected initially. Flipped into support here. So I think if C98 can stay above that level, might be off to the races here soon. So that's definitely one I've got my eye on. I think I'll trade that using the principles I mentioned in the video on how to spot coins. What was it in trade of the day? It was a while ago. How to spot coins before they pump. How to find coins before they pump. So go watch that if you want to know how to enter it. And yeah, C98 looks interesting. So GM. See you all later.